Alright, this is Ryan Mallory doing another session of live charts for you guys. Today is February 12th, 2013. I gotta tell you, man, this is a blasted market. We're finally, like, as I'm talking right now, getting some sort of push higher, which is it's a great sign. Hopefully this can trend higher. But this little choppiness that we've been seeing, even though the choppiness is leading to a slight increase in gains on the overall market, they're just causing havoc for a lot of swing traders, day traders, and everything else, because as soon as you get a little bit of momentum, it's just not enough to really sustain it, and then you get this downside push, and even though it's small enough, it always seems like it's a lot worse than the gains that you get to the upside. So hopefully, there's a little bit of enthusiasm that the market can pull in here as we're hitting new highs. 1520 on the S&P, haven't hit that in like 5 years. Overall on the portfolio, the sideways consolidation really doesn't help matters out much at all. Wolf, it had like a sell-off in the last 20 minutes. Not sure what was the true reason behind that, but overall, I mean, the setup looks still pretty solid. We're in from 22.12, so we got about 0.5% in gains on that trade so far. A little more than 0.5%, I guess. Wolf. Similar setup. Saw another. I'm sorry, didn't I just do Wolf? POL. I'm sorry. We had two similar sell-offs that happened close to the same time. POL was a little bit more heavier. Finally basing out a little bit here, down 0.5% on that today. I would like to see this, the selling that we've seen in POL the last 2 days sort of come to an end here. It's just not what I like to see out of the gate initially on a trade. We're in at 23.16, so slightly underwater on this trade, but the sell-off doesn't look all that bad considering that it's below average on the sell-off, so it could just be a light pullback before we march higher again. You got a little miniature trend line going here too on POL. So nothing's broken yet. It's just testing that trend line right now. And then DVA, we've seen some profit taken in recent days for the third straight day, but the 10-day moving average has not been violated yet. So the ideal is for it to find some kind of support there at the 10-day and push higher, like we've sort of seen here in the last hour or so of trading. And then the latest pick that we've added to the portfolio, FCX, got in at 35.50. Some of you got fills at 35.53. If you haven't got in yet, I wouldn't go chasing it at this point. You can just see here on the 5-minute chart. While I would love for it to go to the heavens before it pulls back, just experience tells me that when you have a stock that's run up like that, wait for a little bit of a pullback before you get long on it. So what's nice is that it is breaking out of this little consolidation area that we have been forming over the last 2 days. And if you look at this chart here, you have a nice upward channel that's already in place. It's bouncing off of that channel. So the goal here is to see this thing get all the way back up into maybe like 1380, 3850 before we book gains on it. So if it hit 3850, it'd be obviously filling this gap here. So or if it just goes up to 3840s or so, I'll be thrilled as well with that. Stop loss on that trade, we've put it at 34.89. So the reason behind putting the stop loss at 34.89, just to be real quick with you on it, you got a bunch of moving averages, the 10 and the 20. So let's put it. I'm going to put it below that just to give us something to work with there. I also ask myself anytime I'm placing a trade, what price level would it have to get to where it does not look like a trade that I want to be in anymore? So 34.89 is what I determined, and that's a pretty tight stop loss. I mean, you figure 35.50, 34.89 is your stop. You're looking at less than a 2% risk on that trade. But think about it. If it gets below this price level here, it's going to look pretty bearish, and it's not going to be something that we really want to stick in at this point. It's going to be below this trend line. It's going to be below the moving averages and recent price action. So that is the motivation behind putting my stop loss on FCX at 34.89. And moving on, let's look at HLF, which was requested. Yeah, I can definitely see where you would see that as a short setup. The only thing that scares me, honestly, about trading this stock is how much news how much or how great the news events surrounding this stock are right now. There's a lot of questions about whether it's a scam or a fraud, and that's good if you're shorting it. But then the upside is what if they prove otherwise? Then the stock's going to push higher. Just a lot of news behind it. I mean, the sell-offs have been extreme. When you see these kinds of sell-offs, it's tempting to want to short it back again when you get a bear flag, hoping that it can push back down to 25 again, because the gains that you would accrue from that kind of a trade would be very impressive, you know. And so I definitely can sympathize with why you would want to get short. Now, the suggestion that I might consider telling you guys to do if you're really wanting to short this is to maybe use options on this. You know, I haven't checked the what the options look like on this, whether, you know, the premiums are good or not. I would assume that you'd be paying a little extra premium for puts on this stock just because of the negativity surrounding it. But the reason why I'd say options, you know, to buy some puts or something if you're interested in shorting it, is that you don't have the huge risk to the upside. You have a defined risk before you even, once you get into the trade. So, but the other thing that I would do too is I would make whatever you stood to lose on a put trade with HLF the same amount that you would stand to lose on HLF if it was just a normal trade. The only reason why I say to use in puts over you know, equities on this particular scenario is just to be able to limit the downside if this stock decides to rip higher. Let's say it gaps up 25-30% tomorrow. Well, you don't want to be short on equities or short on HLF, because you're going to take a beating on it much more than you would if you were short the options. Your options would just expire worthless, but at least you would have that defined risk. All right, but yeah, I see the bear flag there, but I wouldn't trade it unless I was using puts on it, just because of the whole riskiness to this trade. I can probably increase the microphone a little bit there. I was trying to get a little bit of background noise out of it, but all right, let's go ahead and look at some of the other stocks that were sent in to me here. First one being XXIA. I really like this trade. I've been very tempted all day long to get into it. I was stalking it at around 21 flat, and you know, I may regret not getting into this today. The thing that really just drew me back is where to put the stop loss at. Ideally, I wanted to put it below this big negative candle right here, where we hit some lows and bounced higher during that particular day. So that was Friday's lows. The only problem is if I did that, we'd have a stop loss, assuming we got in at 21 at about 5%. I really didn't want to do that. I could have put it here, and that would have made it like a 4% stop loss. Not bad. However, I just didn't want to put a stop loss below that particular candle. I just didn't think there was much reason to putting it behind there, and that was really the only other alternative in play there. Another way I could have possibly viewed it and made it a worthwhile trade is maybe 2042, using the 5-minute chart here on the middle of your screen. 2040, 2042. That could have been legitimate. And let's look at but just going back real quick to XXIA, if you're interested in getting it, it's on a little bit of a run right now. See if you can get back under 2110 before you initiate a long position. I'd probably go with the 2040 stop loss. I don't think it's a great stop loss, which is why I went with FCX over that. But nonetheless, I think there's some potential to it. CLMT. Definitely rising up quite a bit over the last week or so. I don't see any trade in it right now. You got this huge gap that came from the Monday gap up that is probably going to be a temptation for traders to try and see filled. So I would not get into it. In fact, I probably wouldn't even really get into it unless it pulled back closer to 33.60. And at that point, I just want to really reevaluate whether it's worth trying to get in off of the bounce. There is a strong support level at 33.60, 33.50. The likes of which we may not ever see anytime in the near future, but if you're asking me how to play it, that's what I would do for the time being. TSN. Definitely getting a little bit parabolic there. Trending stock that I wouldn't try to buy on. I wouldn't try to treat this as a momentum play. I'd try to treat it as a pullback play. So maybe like 22.50 is where you could target a buy on it. I don't really see a great edge on it, and I'm a little bit nervous about trying to get into a trade that looks like it has risen as much as it has since mid-November, going from 16 to 23 in a very, very parabolic-like manner. So if it pulls back to 22.50, there's really no long-term support for that price except for this existing trend line that it's currently on. I think there's better plays out there, so I would take a pass on this one as well. Next trade, CTSH. Yeah, I'll go ahead and add FVE to the list as well to go over. CTSH, it looks more bearish than anything. It's breaking below some recent price support. It's a bit messy. 76.77. You could justify getting long or getting short. I'm sorry, getting short on CTSH at that level. But I really don't like this chart much either. I don't see a clear level of risk reward to I just don't see any price edge either. So hold off on CTSH. There's not there. On the notes that were given to me, a cup and handle that started back in March 2012, too long ago for a cup and handle pattern. I don't think it's ever too long ago. It just depends on what it looks like. So yeah, the cup and handle pattern, if you were to trade it off of that, it would need to come back down to 72.30ish or so, which I don't know if that's an appealing entry or even a trade on that stock at that point, because that's a significant pullback that you would be experiencing. I would just continue to just put this on your watch list and just keep tabs on it if you're interested in getting long on it. ARUN. Yeah, you got a little cup and handle action there. It's hard. I mean, I'm probably on this kind of a play. You want to get in on that initial breakout, because on 22.69, that's where probably around the area where you have wanted to have gotten long, and it's trading now below that, which means it's violating support. So definitely, I'd stay away from it at this point. I would say actually, the trade in this thing is. Geez, get long, man. If this thing can break through that support level or that resistance level I just drew, that could be a very good trade. Need to sharpen it up a little bit here, but so if it gets above, I don't know, 23.88, that might be a good opportunity there. Keep tabs on it. RNF. This thing's dropping too far too fast to really want to try to buy off of this support level here. It looks enticing. You could possibly play the falling knife. It looks like it's already gotten some bounce off of the test of the support level. But I just think it's such a hard pullback. It's like you're trying to catch a knife at this point if you got long on it. TDG. Yeah, definitely a long-term trending stock. Look at it from the weekly chart. You can definitely see where this thing has trended up nicely over the years, ever since the market bottomed out. The only thing that's slightly bothersome about this chart is that it seems to be narrowing in its price action, which could be just a stock that's or a trend line that's maturing off, and might be ready for some downside in the near term. Even so, it is stuck in the middle of this range. Even though it looks like it's breaking out higher above 140, that entry price was missed. So I would hold off on jumping into that stock right now as well. FVE, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Enticing. 591 would have been the ideal entry price. Coach, are you long on this right now? I can't remember you telling me that the other day or not. But anyways, 594 is 591-ish. Yeah, let's say 593 would have been your ideal entry point on this trade. It's broken out. It's at 624, so you don't want to chase it. If you're already in it, I would definitely just keep on moving up the stop loss on it. It looks like it could go into a free fall this afternoon, you know, and there's really no support levels underneath it. You know, going back to yesterday and at 587, that's below the entry point. So you might want to just approach it to where you say to yourself that it was as high as, you know, 636. It's at 624. How much do I really want to lose more on it? I would probably say don't let it get below 621 before you book the gains on it. If you're not in it, don't go chasing it. Wait for a pullback and see what the price action looks at that point. Yeah, so if you want it again, dude, you made a phenomenal trade there. Phenomenal trade. You got out at 634. Kudos to you for, you know, booking those gains when you did, because it's 10 cents less. I don't like what I'm seeing on the 5-minute chart. It looks like it could head lower, particularly like I said, if it breaks below 621, it looks like it could give up all the gains at that point. So I would just stand pat and see what it looks like. Maybe, you know, an hour from now, a couple hours from now, and then just see if it offers a good trading opportunity. The urgency is always the one to jump back into the stocks that treat you really well. I know that's the case for me and most other traders, but don't do it just because. Do it because that there's just as an appealing trade setup as there was when you initially got into it. All right, that's going to do it for today's live charts. If you guys have any questions, I will be in the splash zone, so just hit me up in there. Or if you're interested in joining, hit me up with an email at ryan@sharepointer.com. Y'all take care and God bless.